Give it 5 more seconds. Welcome to AMA. My name is Leah Love, and I'm here hosting the Nashville by Night AMA. For those of you who don't know what AMA is, it is Ask Me Anything, and I am a One World by Night marketing subcord, bringing you the answers that you want to know from the people you're questioning. Tonight I have Justin Statham. Sorry, it said Jason Statham thing again. You must be that much of a badass. From Whispers by Atlanta, the organizer for the fall event Nashville by Night. Welcome, Justin, and you have a good friend with you.
This is Randall. This is one of the ASTs for Whispers of Atlanta, and one of my ASTs for the Nashville by Night.
Welcome, Randall. It's very nice to have you here. So we are just going to go straight into the questions. We got a lot of questions for this event. It's the first one, I think, of the kind. Is that correct?
This will be the second CCP-hosted event.
Okay. And for those who don't know, what is CCP?
CCP is the gaming company. They do a lot of MMO stuff, like EVE, and they had been working on a World of Darkness MMO project as well. They also were the owners of all of the Mind's Eye Theater books and copyrights after they were purchased from White.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that explanation. So we're just going to go right into this. This is in the fall, September. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So give us the basics. Place, time, what is about cost. Is it in Nashville?
Yes, it is in Nashville. All of the information for Nashville by Night is, of course, going to be on the OWBN.net website. It's also on the CCP website as well, where you can go and pull up all of the costs. There's a hotel rate so that everybody can, we have discounted hotel rates from CCP. There are various tiers that CCP is doing for ticketing. The first one just allows you, in the door and for playing and for all of the things that CCP is doing. We won't be the only ones there. There's also going to be several other events being hosted there at the same time. So that's something that you'll be able to take part in. There are various tiers. The next tier up, I believe, includes the Vaultery, which is going to be CCP's big party. And then there's a whole bunch of other things that you can get. You can get custom rides from the hotel room. You can get access to a bunch of different panels. It all depends on the tier that you want to go with and just how much access you want. But if you just want to play, then that's also there too.
So this is like a con, is it not?
Yes. There's also going to be, OWBN is going to be there. The new By Night Studios is going to be there. Underground Theater is going to be there, and obviously CCP is going to be there. They're going to be hosting their own panels. Last year, they did some panels about LARPs, about video games. They released some information about EVE. So all of that is also things that will be happening at this event.
And I know I had one question. So is there going to be like a dealer's room?
A dealer's room?
Mm-hmm. A marketplace of sorts? Will there be different vendors?
There will be. I'll have to refer you to CCP on that one. There certainly were last year. There were people there who had little booths. There were all sorts of cool goodies, from clan pins to a guy who made armor, to neat jewelry, neat costuming, and they had all that in a little side room as well. So I would imagine they did that last year, but as far as whether or not they're going to do that this year, I'll have to refer you to CCP on that.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you very much. So what inspired you to host this event? How did you get this slot?
Well, there's a process that the org follows for big events like this when it comes to events like conclaves and events that are hosted by larger partners such as CCP. And we were chosen because we're pretty close to Nashville. So we're definitely within 2 hours of driving distance from Nashville, and we have a lot of various ideas and a pretty firm staff down here. We're also, I mean, Whispers of Atlanta has been in the org for several years, so we're pretty keen on the rules and the system and how the org works. We have good relationships with most of the court offices as well. Southeast is home to a couple of different courts, so we have a little bit of an advantage there. One of the other things is that there are a lot of cons and a lot of events that happen up north. There's a lot of stuff in the Northeast. There's some in Ohio, Grand Elysium. There's KublaCon out west. There's the Midwest. Not a whole lot happening in the Southeast, and so we really wanted to see a game down in the Southeast. It's a much more localized for people on the East Coast to come down and to hang out with us, and have a regional sort of area that we could all meet in. Atlanta's an international hub, so it's a 2-hour drive if you fly into Atlanta, and obviously there's the airports in Nashville, so there's plenty of stuff to do there.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I got a lot of questions about, well, referencing ABN. Can you explain what ABN is to me and to the viewers?
Sure. ABN was Atlanta by Night, and it was hosted by us a couple of years ago. It was also another CCP hosted event, and it was held in Atlanta. That was a couple of years ago, and it was in, I want to say, it was in September as well as this one.
Okay. Now, Brian asked, do you feel this event will be handled differently than the ones that Atlanta has hosted previously?
There are several concerns that have been brought to me, and I want to go off on a little bit of a tangent here if I can.
Go ahead.
One of the problems that I have as an ST is not just a problem that I have. It's a problem that the entire org has. It's a problem that it doesn't just cross our org. It crosses every role-playing game you can imagine, tabletop, LARPs, boffer LARPs, anything you can think of with a storytelling system, where people will have an issue with the way things would run, or the way the scene went, or the way our rules were called, and then they'll take those grievances, they'll take those bad feelings, and they'll take them back with them, and they'll talk about them amongst their friends, and they'll sort of take on a life of their own. Their friends will talk to their friends, and then before you know it, it's like, oh man, that Justin guy, he was terrible.
Yeah.
But in this game of telephone, nothing ever gets back to the Justin guy. So he can't fix it.
Sure.
I don't know that people had a bad experience if I don't know that people didn't like the way that this thing was ran, or that this particular, the check-in counter was handled, or just as an example. It's very difficult for me to fix things that I'm unaware of. As much as the STs like to joke that we are omnipresent, we are not. So that's part of the reason for me wanting to have this Ask Me Anything session.
Mm-hmm.
Give people the opportunity to come forward and say, hey, I had this problem. Hey, I didn't like the way this thing was ran. Hey, I did like the way this thing was ran. Please do it. Please do more. Because as an ST, and again, it's not just me, it's org-wide, it's role-playing game-wide, that we have issues where people don't communicate well with the ST staffs, and it turns into these rumors and things take on a life of their own and really bring us down, when we can all really just be adults and say, hey, I really like this, or hey, I didn't really like that. Here's some suggestions to run it better next time, or here's something that I really like. Let's try this next time.
Have you gotten that type of feedback at all?
I have. I've gotten some really good feedback from a couple of different people. I don't want to name any particular names. They would be with me with me saying that to this particular audience, but I've gotten some very long emails about. They were very in-depth and very explanatory and very helpful, and I've responded to each and every one of those. And I've gotten some very short ones that were very, hey, I thought this was great, but I didn't like this thing. And I've responded to those equally. And I've had some good responses as well. It's like, hey, we really like this, and do more of it. And I'm happy to respond to any email that I get that way, so that I can make things more fun, and not just for me, but for you guys and for everyone.
What were some common themes that you encountered through those emails?
Some of the things that I had, and I think these are some of the questions you're going to ask, so I'll say some of them. But some of the common things that we had where people seem to have a hard time with a difference between our game's check-in and CCP's check-in. Mm-hmm. There are two separate check-ins. There's the check-in for the CCP event. This is for the con, if you will, as a whole. It's where you'll get your badge and so on. Get your tickets for the Vaultery if you're going to be part of that. Get your passes for everything else, all the different events and so on. And then we have our own individual check-in, which is where you'll get your character, your blood, your willpower, and you'll see our schedules laid out. There was some confusion with this at ABN that people brought up, and a multitude of people said, hey, I didn't like this. And so we've definitely took measures to fix this. We've added 3 dedicated narrators to our check-in counter to make sure that that's going to be smooth at all times, and we'll make sure to have an ST staff there just in case to answer any problems or any questions that come up. A couple of other people. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Do you want me to go ahead and start nailing through some of these questions?
Well, it depends on which ones they are. Are you looking at possibly like the plot? Did a lot of people have concerns about the plot that you guys ran? I know a lot of times modulars plots people have an issue with, especially if it's just pertaining to something that's very local and how people can get involved. They kind of feel like an outsider and, they're wasting their time.
Sure. That's one of the concerns that we had. That one came from a couple of different people as well. And there's some extent that that's a little bit of a twofold, a little bit of a double edge there. Mm-hmm. There was some national plot that was there that people did not get involved in for one way or the other, but we also ran a decent amount of regional plot that people didn't seem to care for, didn't seem to want to get involved in. So one thing that we've done for this particular event is we've reached out to all of the chords, to all of the STs across the org. There's a post on our national ST list. We're welcoming of chord plots, of chord ideas, of ST plots, of ST ideas. We definitely want to reach out to anyone who wants to give us some feedback or wants to give us some cool ideas for things that they want to see. Maybe your local ST has a thing that they want to run, or C ran, or I know there's a couple of different chords that have a couple of ideas that they want to see ran, and we're working with them to see if we can get that through our Justicars and through council to get those.
Can you give us a little insight into what that is?
I'm unfortunately I can't at the moment. I can tell you that the chords that I'm working with as closely at the moment are Brian Orlando and Alex Rushing. Mm-hmm. But I can't give any more insight on that right now because it has to still go through the proper channels, as it were.
Sure, not a problem. I have to ask. People want to know, so I got to ask it. But so you're working closely with those 2 chords right there. Have you gotten any interest from anybody else?
We have. I know. I want to go ahead, if I can, take a minute here to go over my ST staff.
Sure.
Because we did. That was another thing that a couple of people had some questions about. Yeah. So my ST staff right now on the cam side is entirely filled out, and we have HSTs. The way that it's going to work is I'm the HST of the event. Mm-hmm. So I will be the final say on any call. And I will also be the ST over the CAM event. Under the CAM, there's going to be myself. There's going to be Randall, who is sitting beside me. There will be Christy, Nicodemus, Mandy, and Taylor, and Trey Navarre will all be over our CAM side. And that will be our final Camarilla staff.
Okay.
Also be over the Sabat side. The Sabat has its own primary ST, not HST, but primary ST, who's going to be handling all of that, and that's going to be Zeb Hilliard. He's going to be running all of our Sabat stuff.
I have to do this because I know Zeb very well, and it's Hillard. There's no I. He would be very upset if I did not correct you on that one, because he corrected me so many times with that, because in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, we have a suburb called Hilliard, and everybody would call him that, and he would get so upset. So, Zeb, you owe me one.
Control him.
No, you can't control that.
So anyway, Zeb's going to be my primary Sabat ST. He's got Nick under him, and I know he's still pulling in a couple of different people for the Sabat staff.
Is that Nick McMillan?
To be honest, I can't recall his last name at the moment.
Okay, that's fine.
And then over the Giovanni side, we also have Sherry, and Sherry's going to be running our Giovanni plot, and she's also working closely with Hugo to make sure that we have some Giovanni chord plot level happening there, and that there's actually things to do as a Giovanni. So there's going to be a lot of coordination here. And I also want to be clear, too, with how I laid out the staff and the structure, that I'm the HST, but there's also these other STs under me who are over, say, the Sabata, the Giovanni. Pretty much if Zeb makes a call or Sherry makes a call, 99.9% of the time I'm going to go with whatever they say. So don't think you're going to get around, mommy, daddy, oh, well, just because Sherry said this doesn't mean, I'm just going to run to Justin and take care of it. 90% of the time I'm going to agree with them unless they've made some sort of egregious rule call. Everybody on my staff is very, they're all veteran org players. They're all veteran One World by Night, and all very familiar with the rules. So 90% of the time, we're all going to be able to handle things in a very professional way.
You have trust in your staff, and it's a very good thing to have. There's not any type of politicking that's going on, which I know can plague some games, some events, and it's very refreshing to hear, and I'm glad. I think it will put a lot of people at ease to know that you do trust them in that aspect. Are there going to be any Justicars? You mentioned courts, so is there going to be any Justicars showing up that you know of?
That has yet to be announced. We're still, like I said, we're working pretty closely with all of the courts to get our plot all smoothed out and through council and through all of our ST lists, and that is still yet to be determined.
Okay.
But that is something we're definitely interested in and are working on.
So we've talked about the courts getting involved. How can other people get involved? I know you mentioned storytellers, that you're open to ideas for running plot, but what about, say, somebody who's attending? Is there anything that they can do to get involved? Do you have NPCs set up that if somebody's not sure who they want to play, they can play that and step in?
For new players, and I'm going to go off on a little bit here too. For new players, we have utilized Grapevine and a couple of other tools to go ahead and make some starter PCs for people. So the new players that want to get involved, they want to come to the event, or maybe they're a player from NBN, or maybe they're just a random guy. We're more than happy to accommodate them, and we have some starter sheets set out for them, basic clan, basic discipline, concepts, that sort of thing, so that they can really jump right into play instead of having to sit there for a couple of hours and roll out a sheet and try and figure it all out. Because at the end of the day, that's not what LARP's about. It's about role playing. It's about role playing, not role playing.
Right.
We already have some starter sheets and some things like that built out. We have some narrators who are willing to help them get involved. And we will have some NPCs for people to reach out to help them get involved into certain things as well.
Great. This is actually a very pertinent question, because last week I had Beltane on the Guru side. I'm about to have, you mentioned Grand Elysium, I'm about to have the Ohio Night Bot on, the Columbus in Darkness on, and Wild Prophets on for Grand Elysium / Bainclave coming up in June. Both of these two events are very different and set apart. What is setting you apart? What is setting this event apart from anything else?
Well, this will be the first event, to my knowledge, that will be hosted in Nashville. So there's a lot of fun to be had in Nashville, even if you don't come for the LARP, if you just come for all the sites and all the things that Nashville can provide. That's one thing that we're trying to put out there, not just for us, but for the city in general. Mm-hmm. Again, we're working pretty closely with all of the cords and with all of the ST staff to really get involved, to really get ourselves out there. And we're really trying to make this an event not just for the Southeast, not just for Atlanta or for the regional players, but also for on a national stage, for a national scale. This is an event that I would like to see. I mentioned earlier having this being an event for the Southeast, mm-hmm. Southeast, which is a much more regional hub for several events and games around us, and I'd really like to see an event continue along on that lines.
So you want to continue, would you possibly want to continue Nashville by Night, make it a yearly thing?
Nashville is certainly an option. Atlanta is certainly an option. I would like to see a Southeast event continue, whether or not it continues in Nashville or moves to Atlanta or even moves to Florida or something like that. Just an area that is more
southeast of the area located.
Probably with a regional hub,
mm-hmm.
like Tampa or Atlanta.
Yes. I apologize. So let's get into the more icy things. I know that you couldn't mention stuff about Just Your Cars and what you're doing with courts, but what is the icy draw to your event?
That I've got to be a little tight-lipped about.
Okay.
We're going to release some in-character draws here and there.
Okay.
Going to have some NPCs do some talking for us, a couple of different posts over the lists, a couple of different things across different mediums that we have at our disposal, clan lists, that sort of thing, mm-hmm. To really start getting things involved before we release the in-character schedule and announcement. That stuff is all kind of still in the laboratory, if you will. But I've got to be a little tight-lipped about it, as it's not all went through proper channels yet.
Okay. Okay. And is the event taking place in Nashville in character?
So there's a couple of different settings.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of feedback from a lot of people who want separate areas, which I fully understand. So our plan right now is to have the Camarilla genre be set in Nashville in character. Mm-hmm. The Sabbat genre will be held in Gatlinburg in character. And the Giovanni will be able to go between the two as they wish. The Giovanni are independent sects, so they can, if they want to, and do whatever they would like. I would also like to say here, to give our Giovanni a draw, there is a Giovanni dinner plan with traditional family politics and food. So that's going to be a lot of fun. If you're around in the Southeast and you've been to any of our Giovanni events, you know what that's like. But for those of you that don't, think very twisted family reunion. Picture of where this is going. It's always a lot of fun when we get together and do it, and it really is a blast. If you're interested in making a Giovanni PC or an NPC, again, we're more than willing to help you get involved and get out there and having fun.
Sure, that's actually a really great idea. It sounds like a lot of fun. Now, there was one question from Whitney that I really did like, and I don't know if you can kind of give it into this, but you're talking about new players. A lot of people haven't been to your event. Is there one person, or is there an event set up that you know of that people just have to attend?
There isn't. I wouldn't say one person. There's a lot. I could go on about how there are some really cool people in the Southeast and some really cool players down here, and really good people. But at the end of the day, that's true all over the org. We're a community after all, and we have really cool people all over the place. But I really think, as far as people that I would absolutely say that you have to meet, both in character, perhaps if one of the Justicars shows up, that may be something, if you're a political character, that you might want to get involved in. There are several Archons that may or may not be showing up, that may be something you want to get involved with in character. There are a couple of different Sovereign Princes around that you may want to rub elbows with if you're into the politics game. There are certainly a couple of, how to put this, badasses that you might want to get in your coterie if you're that kind of group. So you kind of really have to fill that out. As far as an out-of-character people you need to meet, there's a couple different chords that I would like to take a moment to thank for helping this event. Alex Rushing has done a great job helping us out with some plot and has really been a fantastic resource. Brian Orlando has done a great job, and if any of you have a chance to meet either of those, that's I highly recommend that.
I have not had the pleasure of meeting Brian Orlando, but he did give me some really great questions to ask, so I hope that soon, possibly at Grand Elysium, I will be able to meet him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Like I mentioned, there's a couple of different Sovereign Princes. If you're into the politics game, Prince Charles McMillan, Prince Brian Faulkner might be some people that you want to get along and meet with, rub some elbows with. Mm-hmm. And we haven't gotten a character database yet, so I'm not quite sure who else is coming, and I don't know that they'd want me to tell you, even if they were.
Okay, well, if you ever want to give a little scoop, I'm right here and would love the information. But keeping with the IC things, do you know if there's any clan meetings set up? Any of the local politics ready? Do you have any local politics so far that they know what they're going to be doing for this event?
We will be having clan meetings. Each clan will be having each CAM clan will have its own little meeting slot. We've already worked out some of those times in the schedule. That schedule will be published in character and out of character once it is finalized. It's still in the works, so if you're a CAM clan, you will definitely be having a clan list.
Okay.
Definitely having a meeting. You'll have a time slot and a room available to you. The Giovanni also will have a room. We'll have the aforementioned dinner that we discussed to be able to talk about all the things that they want to talk about. And the Sabbat are a little bit, Sabbat don't really necessarily do the clan thing so much. But Zeb, I'm sure, will be working on something to that extent to get everybody involved there as well.
You did mention that there was going to be them set IC differently, but there are clans, for instance, the Nosferatu, that don't, I won't, ignore is not the best word, but work over sex, politics and things. Will there be something, that will be able to facilitate that?
As I mentioned with the Giovanni, that's certainly an option if you choose to work through a third party. There will be some Setites around who I'm sure will be more than willing to help you out. that you have.
I think they prefer followers of sets.
So that's certainly an option. As far as infiltrators and kind of crossing over back and forth is concerned, we want that to be on a case-by-case basis. For the most part, we don't have a problem with back and forth, but we do kind of feel an obligation to our players on both sides of we don't want the cam to all get together and decide to go roll Gatlinburg, and we don't want Gatlinburg to all get together and decide we want to go roll the cam.
Okay.
So think of it as more, as much more in the Year of Fire type Cold War genre.
Okay.
More of an idea of how we want this to run.
All right. So getting into more of the lighthearted aspect, each night of some events have a theme. Is there going to be the infamous gamer prom this event?
One thing I'd like to say about that is my style of STing is very much that of a sandbox. Think Grand Theft Auto. I don't decide what you do in the sandbox. I provide you the sandbox. So if people want to do gamer prom, I'm not going to stop you, but I am going to be a little turned off.
Okay.
The org has seen its share of gamer proms, has seen its share of vampire proms, and is not very happy with it. And I am definitely one of the people who are like, no, let's not do that. I'm going to go off on a little bit more of a here and say that I think that the staff has given some firm thought to kindred weddings, and I think we've all seen that these real hoity-toity weddings in character. We've seen the Tremere have a wedding, and the Ventru have weddings, and the Toreador have weddings. And we thought about this for a while, and we're like, man, this really isn't very good genre, so we're maybe leaving some people out. So we thought about hiring, like an Elvis impersonator, so that we could do some low-clan weddings for the Nosferatu and stuff like that. Kind of think Vegas-style drive-through, get-married kind of wedding.
Is there anyone on the docket to get married this year? I did see that question come through, and I've never known anybody to ask that question or have that prepared.
In all seriousness, kindred weddings, again, this goes back to the sandbox question. If you want to get married in character and have an in-character wedding, I will provide the venue for it, but I would ask you to please think long and hard about whether or not this is a very genre thing for you to do, and if this is, how is this going to further the story? How is this going to further you being a kindred? As of right now, we do not have any on the docket, nor do we plan.
Okay. All right. And then, of course, because it's not just a political game, what PvP?
Indeed, and that's one of the things, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of the things that has that's come across my desk a couple of different times. People have asked, "Hey, we felt like PvP was discouraged at Atlanta by Night. We feel like you guys down there in Georgia aren't very PvP oriented. We really, we want to see more PvP, and we don't want to be discouraged from taking this guy out that we think needs to go."
Mm-hmm.
And it was never the intention of the Atlanta by Night staff to give off any sort of perception that we were anti-PvP, that we were even discouraging PvP. That was absolutely not the case. And I apologize if that came across, whether that came across to my staff or to any of my narrators. That was certainly not the case, and if they said that with the authority of their position, then they were mistaken.
Okay.
that has not and is not the case, and will not be the case for this event. Every one of my staff is, again, a veteran Org player, is well-versed in the rules, well-versed in the house rules that we're writing up, which will be submitted to the Org at large. And if you guys want to get together and form a boot party to get rid of this problem character, then that's entirely up to you guys in the sandbox. Whether or not you succeed or not, well, that's between.
That's totally icy.
Right, that's totally icy. But as far as wanting PvP, that's all up to you guys. One of the ways I've heard it put with the sandbox model is when I say that I have a plot for somebody, when I say that there's cool stuff going on, think of it like I've put a beach ball in the sandbox somewhere. You might have to go find it, but once you get it, you can play with it. And I'll kind of point to it over that way. But I'm not going to tell you what to do with the beach ball. If you want to pop, if you want to pop it, or if you want to throw it at your friends, or if you want to throw it out of the sandbox, that's all up to you. What you do with it's all up to you. But I'll make sure there's plenty of beach balls in the sandbox.
Wonderful. I'm out of questions. You've been very informative. Did you want to include anything else? Did you have any other notes that you wanted to impart to our viewers?
Give me just a second here. I want to go over some of my notes that I had here just to make sure we didn't miss anything in particular. I feel like we've left Randall all alone. Randall, did you have anything in particular that you wanted to say?
No, I would just say for anyone who has not attended one of the CCP events, they throw a ridiculous party. I mean, what they're calling the Vaultery.
Yes.
It is going to be a blast. There's going to be, a lot of crazy stuff. I would highly recommend it.
Is that similar to what they used to do, the Succubus Club, I believe it was called?
That's exactly what it is. And to give you guys an example of what happened at OWBN, we were told that the bar was closing down at midnight and that there wasn't going to be any more booze. So CCP went to the hotel and said, how much for all of the booze you have in the hotel? Purchased all of the booze in the hotel and then let us continue drinking.
Wow.
So, if for no other reason than to show up, alcohol, need I say more?
I think that you're putting Midwinter on the run. I'm just going to put that out there. I think Midwinter now has some competition because Luke Philippi is famous for saying Milwaukee is the alcohol capital of the world. I think, are you going to give Midwinter a run for the money with this?
I can't vouch for what CCP will or will not do. What
Okay.
I will say, however, is there is a wonderful friend of mine who makes fantastic apple pie brandy, and if you have a chance to taste some of Uncle Imp's apple pie brandy or acquire some, I would highly recommend it.
Okay. All right. I will probably have to try that, considering I'm used to Jason Williams' moonshine, apple pie moonshine. Maybe there can be a little apple pie off contest.
I'd like to give a couple of thank yous. Definitely thank you to you for hosting this and for making all of this possible.
You're welcome.
Thanks to Jessica, who's done a fantastic job of coordinating with CCP, of coordinating with between me and all of my staff. Thanks to Autumn, who has helped us out, making sure that we had the right territories and everything taken care of without all of the hassle that comes through council. And thanks to all of the cords, again, Brian Orlando, Alex Rushing, and everyone who has brought me great ideas. And again, for any of the STs who have certain things that they want to see, certain things that they want to, maybe there's a plot that they want to come to a head, maybe there's some sort of secret information that needs to get out and they want to get it out at an event, or or something like that, we're definitely more than open to all of that. Nashville by Night 2014 at googlegroups.com. Or you can email me privately, Justin, VST, JUSTINTHEST, at gmail.com if you want it to be a private affair. We would definitely happy to be open to all of that. What I'd actually like to do, if we can, my chat function doesn't seem to be working properly. I'd really like to, if we can, kind of open to open air questions.
Let me see if there's anything going on YouTube. If not, if something comes afterwards, I know that we got a lot of questions in regards to, will this be broadcast afterwards? Will people be able to view a transcript or after? YouTube is distributing this, so this will be done off of, this will be available once this broadcast is done, so people can watch it as many times as they want to. And refer to it, and I would ask, if we don't have any questions for you at this time, if somebody has a question afterwards, is it possible for them to send them to you and have you, answer them and possibly keep me on the loop so that everybody can know what's going on?
Absolutely, and that again goes back to the thing that I mentioned at the very first of this broadcast. If you have an issue, if you have something you want to say, if you have a discrepancy or a misunderstanding or an opinion, good or bad, please feel free to email it to me, email it to my staff, email it to anybody. The Nashville by Night 2014 at Google Groups, JustinTheST at gmail.com, Woast at gmail.com. Because we really need it, and this goes not just for the Atlanta by Night event, but for all of the STs out there. If you have grievances, if you have things that you want to see more of, that you don't want to see more of, that you think's in genre or don't think's in genre, not just with me, but with all of your ST staffs, reach out to them. Don't be afraid of them, because we're definitely open to them.
Okay. I think that's really great advice, and I think everybody should kind of follow. Don't be afraid of repercussions and such. Could you tell me a little bit more about the By Night Studios staff, if you know, or Underground Theater? Who are the other games that you are partnering with that may not be sharing the same universe? Do you have any information on them for people? I know that By Night Studios is going to be playtesting Guru.
Yeah, I do know that By Night Studios is going to be there. They're going to be hosting some events. I do know that Underground Theater is going to be there. They're going to be hosting some events. As far as to their schedules and to what they're hosting, I'm unfortunately going to have to refer you to them because I am unaware of their schedules or what exactly they have planned.
Okay.
I will say that I was just reminded in my chat box here that we'll be running a mage game as well. A guy named Lewis. He's a great guy. For those of you who have not met him, he's really dedicated to One World by Night. He's done a great job helping us out hosting events before, helping us out with really all sorts of things. Again, thank you big time to Lewis. He will be hosting a mage game as well. Okay. If you're interested in playing mage, this is a good way to get started. And a good way to get you a mage character out in the org.
That is, the mage is starting to pop up a lot. We have, Jason Place that I had on last week, who is the mage cord, and he's got a mage game out there. There's a satellite mage game in Cleveland, Ohio, and now you've got one running at Nashville by Night. So mage is really becoming a lot more popular than it once was. So we're looking for good things with that. But it looks like that's all the questions we have for you. If I get any more, if there's any more on Facebook or YouTube, I will most certainly direct them to you, and I'm sure that your lovely heart would be more than happy to answer these questions for them and get out any information. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
Not at this time. I think we're all good right now.
Oh yeah, no, I think regarding the Underground Theater, I think James Doobie might be involved in running some of that.
Yeah, I think James had mentioned that he was going to be running that.
Okay.
So I know there should be a lot of fun there. Like I think you either mentioned or alluded to, I think By Night Studios is going to be running some info regarding the werewolf stuff that they've been working on.
Yes, I believe they will be play testing the new rule set that they're coming out with.
I would like to, actually, now that I look over my notes,
Yeah.
there's a couple of other things that I want to point out to people. There was a bit of confusion for Atlanta by Night and a couple of the other Southeast events that have been brought to my attention. There seems to be some confusion about who the Whispers of Atlanta staff are versus the other Georgia staffs. I think it's important to note that we actually have 6 games here in Georgia.
I did not know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that we have 6 games, and they think, oh yeah, this is Georgia, it's their own little island, and they do their own thing. We actually have 6 different games here. We have Whispers of Atlanta, which is hosted in character in Atlanta and out of character in Atlanta. We have Stolen Hours, which is hosted in character in Atlanta, which is hosted in character in Middle Georgia, so think Macon, but out of character in Atlanta. We have Griffin, which is Griffin Immortal Knights Theater. They're hosted in and out of character in Griffin, Georgia. They're a new satellite game to our organization, and for those of you that don't know or haven't dealt with them, they're a new game. They have like 40 players. When we did the in-character survey, we did a lot of people. We were, they've been in the org for 10 years or 5 years. For those of you who want to get new, fresh players, new, fresh insight, Griffin is a fantastic place for that. They're a brand new game, they're a fresh game, and they have a huge population. We also have Under Heaven's Eye, which is a Giovanni-only game, and that one is ran by Sherry and Zeb. They do a fantastic job. Again, think Twisted Family Reunion, and you'll get much more of a feel of kind of what that's like. We have dinners and so on. So that's a lot of fun. We have Savannah, which is City of Shadows. They're hosted in character in Savannah, out of character in Macon. And we also have Athens After Dark, which is in Athens, in and out of character. So we actually have 6 games here in Georgia. So when you think Georgia, don't just think, oh yeah, that Justin guy, he did a horrible job. We have several games here, and so we do a lot of. There obviously, due to the area, there's a lot of crossover, but there's also a lot of uniqueness as well. So when you think like, oh yeah, there's this plot that I really hate, or there's this character I really hate, it more than likely isn't ours. There's 5 other games other than us.
But I'm sure that you all work together, and you work together pretty well, and you're all coming together for this event.
And that's one of the things, too, that we've really tried to put together more recently, especially over the past couple of years. We've really built up, I want to prop Griffin, I want to prop Stolen Hours for this. COS has worked with us some. Athens After Dark as well. We're really working together on some regional plots, and we really want to be able to expand beyond just our little island. We really want to be able to go beyond that and to start pulling in more, to do more national plots, to do more cross-chronicle plots, to do more to get everybody involved and not just feeling like, oh yeah, well this happened in my game and I'm invincible in my game. But really have a lot of different, like, okay, this leads back to here, which goes back to here, which is all just a big puzzle and is a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. That's a lot of great insight, and I did not know that there was that many games in Georgia. This sounds like it's going to be an amazing event. I can't wait for it. I do love Nashville myself, and I think that what you guys are bringing together will be a very good experience for all players, and I know that this will be staying on YouTube or any that need any information, and we will have links for them to contact you, to contact me, so that we can post that up. I want to thank you again, Justin, for joining me this evening, and Randall for our special surprise guest. My name is Leah Love. I'm hosting AMA here with Justin, VHST of Nashville by night, and in 3 weeks, I'm going to be hosting Ohio Night Sabat for the Grand Elysium event, and I hope that you will stay tuned for that. Again, I want to thank Justin and Randall. It has been a pleasure talking to you, and I cannot wait for Nashville by night.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.